If I'm being perfectly candid here, I'm going to have to admit that growing up, my concept of Indian food was very limited. And by limited, I mean I was raised on South Indian food, especially South Indian food that has become the norm and part of the day to day cuisine of Tamil people living in Malaysia, which in no way is traditional South Indian food in many ways. Trust me, that was a hard lesson I had to learn when I was in South India. I did not have a single ounce of curiosity or sense of adventure in me when I was younger, when it came to food, especially when it came to food. Which meant that the first time I had Pani Puri, I think I was in my mid 20s. And that kind of applies to most of the items in the chaat category. You know, your Sev Puri, your Raj Kachori, whatever. I only had it in my 20s, which is really ironic because I had white friends who were like, oh my god, Pani Puri is so great and Gulab Jamun is so great. And I'm like, I've never had those things. And now, over the years that I have been very adventurous with my food consumption and I'm opening myself up to way more flavors. Okay, I do this thing. I pick out the peanuts and I eat them separately. As I was saying, now that I'm more adventurous about food and I am allowing myself to embrace way more flavors and kind of explore different cuisines, I'm becoming more and more frustrated by certain labels that are being ascribed to certain cuisines. I really think that having a phrase stating that a certain food is part of Indian cuisine is incredibly disingenuous. And I say this because the moment you cross state borders in India, the food is entirely different, right? And we need to stop catering to the palate of outsiders that are not familiar with spices. We need to stop simplifying and dumbing down things because that is kind of forcing assimilation in a way where certain dominant cultures might win out and we would lose the nuances we find in all the little nooks and crannies of the country, right? I mean, I talk about food, but I myself am not completely familiar with the varying types of cuisine in North India. Like, my understanding of that is still very basic. Yes, I'm trying to learn, right? But it's still very basic. And I think that's because I've been fed this idea of what North Indian food and South Indian food is. And the only reason that I have that distinction is because I am, of Indian origin and I understand South Indian food in a way that outsiders will not. But by dumbing it down and by calling something just Indian food, we are robbing people of true experiences. We are robbing people of their ability to learn and try and explore new things. And this is not just with Indian food. I feel the same way about Chinese cuisine for that matter. Because what we know as Chinese cuisine in Malaysia also comes from very specific communities, very specific groups of people from China. And then you explore certain specific Chinese cuisine and you're like, oh my God, like it is so different than the stuff that I'm familiar with. It is so different than the stuff I can get here in Malaysia, in Chinese restaurants, obviously. And I think a couple cuisines here and there from China, at the very least, have found a way to brand themselves to stand out and have really created a name for themselves. And I'm not quite sure about how Indian cuisine is doing on that front because I am so enmeshed in the reality of it. But I really think we need more distinction and more specificity because fine, something like Pani Puri has found its way all across India and is known by various different names. While that is absolutely delightful and fun, I wonder what items kind of faded away into the background because of the popularity of Pani Puri as it spread across the states, as it spread across the various Indian cultures. Because there must have been something else that was the prominent street food, but then outsiders brought in Pani Puri, and I wonder what was forgotten. I would really like to know. Is there any kind of like really specific street food that people would like to see come back? Also, while we're at it, can I have like a list of South Indian street food? The first thing off the top of my head is like sundal, but that's it. Nothing else is coming to me. Do we not do street food? I'm just eating this. I always tend to have a lot of this left over, which I'm pretty sure is the actual chaat.